Welcome back to another video on how to make your own programming language in Python. In part 1 we modified the lexer and the parser to handle variables, and in this part we are going to be finishing the variables by updating the interpreter. So the first thing we have to do is define the new visit methods for the new nodes we created in part 1. So the first method we will define is for the function call node, which will replace the print node that we used to have. So we will still take in the node, and now we will just make sure that the value of, or the name of the function is equal to print. If it is, then we will print self.visit node.argument. So that argument is either a string node or a variable access node. So as you can see, we don't know what type this node is, and so we will have to create a generic visit method which will automatically determine which function to call based on the type. So we will define the visit method. It will take in the node that we are visiting, and it will take in any other arguments that might be passed in. So now we have to determine the method name based on the type of that node, and we can use this code here to do that. We can then use the get attribute function to get the correct method based on the method name, and then we can pass in a default function to call if this method does not exist. So I will now define this visit generic method, which is just going to raise an error. So now that we have the visit method in place, we can use that here as well, so we don't have to type out the full method name. So the next method we will define is visit string node, and that's just going to return the string value from the token. So node.token.value. So in order to add variables, we're going to have to create a new class called a symbol table. And the symbol table is going to just keep track of all the variable names and their current values. So we will define that now. So in the initialize method we don't need to take in anything, but we're going to assign symbols to an empty dictionary. Now we are going to create a new add method which will take in a name, and then we will just assign the symbol at that name to none. Now we will create a set method which will take in a name and a value. We will make sure the name is defined already, and then we will assign that name to that value. With that we also need a get method, so name, and then we'll just return self.symbols name. But again, only if the name is defined. Okay, so in our interpreter class we will now create an instance of that symbol table. So self.symbol table equals symbol table. And now we can go ahead and define the variable methods. So the first one we will create is the visit variable declaration node method. So that will call the add method on the symbol table with the node's name, and then it will call the set method with that name and its value. So next is the variable access node, and we will just return symbol table dot get and then the node name. So that should be it, but I might have forgotten something, but we will just see. So, oh no, Python 2 interpreter.py. Okay, global name print node is not defined. Okay, so that is because I forgot to replace print node with function call node. Let's see now. Okay, it ran, but we didn't see anything. So the first thing I forgot to do is handle variable declaration nodes in the visit program tree method. So I can actually just remove this check altogether, and the visit method will figure the rest out itself. The other thing I forgot to do is actually call the method inside here. So I've done that now. So I've called the method and I've returned its value. The next thing I forgot to do is add visits to the function name that was being called. Okay, so I'm also missing .value here for the names. And then for the value of the variable declaration, I need to actually call visit to actually determine what it should be assigned to. So that should hopefully be everything. Okay, so maybe it's because I'm missing value here as well. Okay, so it looks like I forgot that value here as well in the visit function call node method. Okay, so I also have to call .lower on the string because in the script it is in uppercase and we are comparing it with a lowercase string. Okay, so another problem is that it is trying to visit a tuple, and the reason this is because the expression method in the parser is returning a reversible count, and I actually didn't split that up into a separate variable. And so that should work, and I also need to check if the expression is not there, and then I need to return none and reversible. Okay, so if we run that again, everything should work, and if it doesn't, just leave a comment below and I will try to help you out. So next thing we will be doing is adding expressions. How are we going to be doing this? Find out in the next video. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode.